If you've been feeling that quiet tension in your chest, that unspoken weight, like someone has been holding back words they should have said a long time ago, this message is not random. Libra. This is for you if you've been confused by someone's silence, if you felt close to them, yet somehow kept at a distance, if you've wondered, why do I feel this connection, but hear nothing? Here's the truth. They haven't been cold. They haven't been gone. They've been holding it all in, and something inside them is about to break that silence. Stay with me. Because what's coming next isn't small. It's honest. It's emotional. And it changes the balance between you forever. Before we go any further, take a breath. Trust what you're feeling. And if this already feels personal, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Libra, let me speak to you for a moment. Just you. There's a reason their silence cut deeper than you expected. Not because you needed constant words, but because you needed orientation. You needed to know where you stood, and instead, you were left standing in that quiet space, reading energy instead of messages, feeling closeness without confirmation, carrying a connection that never fully landed. You kept asking yourself questions you didn't want to ask. Is this real? Am I imagining it? If they feel this too, why does it feel like I'm alone with it? Here's what I want you to understand. Their silence was never empty. It was crowded. This is someone who lives in their head far more than they show. Someone who learned early on that emotions are powerful things. Things you contain, things you manage, things you don't spill unless you're sure you can control the outcome. So they held everything inside, every thought, every impulse, every moment they almost reached for you and stopped themselves halfway. And while you were feeling the distance, they were feeling the pressure. Because the truth is, they've been carrying you closer than you realize, closer than their behavior ever showed, closer than their silence ever suggested. They don't wear their heart on the surface. They keep it protected, locked behind logic, behind timing, behind reasons that made sense to them but never reached you. And that's where the imbalance began. You could feel the connection, but you couldn't feel the reassurance. You sensed the bond, but you never felt chosen out loud. That does something to a Libra. It makes you question your intuition. It makes you second-guess your worth. It makes you wonder whether asking for clarity is asking for too much. But listen to me now. You were never asking for too much. You were asking for truth, and they've known that. Every time they went quiet, every time they delayed, every time they convinced themselves they would speak later, they told themselves they were protecting the connection. But deep down, they knew they were. Avoiding the moment when everything would change. Because once words are spoken, there's no hiding behind silence anymore. Once feelings are named, the balance shifts. And that terrified them more than losing you ever did, until now. Because something inside them has reached its limit. That careful restraint, that emotional control, that constant holding back. It's exhausting to carry that much unsaid truth, and they're starting to feel it. So, if you've been sensing a shift, a heaviness lifting, a tension cracking beneath the surface, you're not imagining it. This is the moment before honesty, the quiet before confession, the breath someone takes when they realize they can't live inside their silence anymore. Stay with me. Because what comes next isn't about confusion. It's about balance being restored, about truth stepping forward, about the moment when holding everything in becomes harder than finally letting it out. And Libra, you don't have to reach for it. You don't have to chase clarity. It's already moving toward you. Libra, there comes a moment when silence stops feeling safe. Not dramatic, not loud, just quietly unbearable. That is where they are now. For a long time, holding everything inside felt like control. It felt like strength. Like if they stayed still long enough, nothing could go wrong. But pressure does not disappear just because it is hidden. It gathers, it tightens, it waits. And lately, something has been shifting inside them. Not panic, not chaos. More like a steady realization settling into their chest. If I keep doing this, I lose you. Not someday, not eventually, right now. They have replayed conversations in their mind that never happened. Moments where they almost spoke and chose silence instead. Times they felt your presence pull at them and pretended they did not feel it. That kind of restraint takes energy. And they are running out of it. You see, this is someone who does not act without intention. When they move, it is because something inside has reached a decision point. because staying still has become more painful than stepping forward. That is why the energy around them feels heavier lately, more focused, more deliberate. They are no longer circling the truth. They are standing in front of it, and the truth is simple. They cannot keep carrying this alone. What they feel for you has outgrown the space they tried to contain it in. It no longer fits neatly behind logic or timing or excuses. It shows up in quiet moments, in pauses they cannot explain, in the way your absence feels louder than before. This is not impulsive energy. It is resolved energy, the kind that comes after long internal battles, after weighing consequences, after realizing that protecting yourself by staying silent is no longer protection at all. For someone like them, choosing action is not dramatic. It is deeply personal. It is the moment they stop negotiating with their fear. And if you have been sensing a different quality in the air, a subtle shift in how the connection feels, a tightening before release, that is not coincidence. This is what happens right before someone steps out of their head and into their truth. They are tired of thinking, tired of rehearsing, tired of wondering what might happen if they finally speak, because not knowing anymore feels worse than the risk. And Libra, this matters, because it means you were never invisible to them, never an afterthought, never something they could simply walk away from. You were the one thing they kept trying to control because it mattered too much to lose. So, if your heart has been asking for clarity, if your intuition has been whispering that something is building beneath the surface, trust that. Not everything that is quiet is stagnant. Some things are gathering strength. And as this energy moves, as intention turns into motion, as silence gives way to honesty, what comes next is not confusion. It is balance finding its way back. Stay right here. Because once a decision like this is made, the story does not slow down. Libra, this is where the air begins to change. You can almost feel it, like the moment just before dawn, when the world is still quiet but no longer asleep. Something has been set in motion now, not outside of you, around you. Truth has a way of rising when it has been ignored for too long. It does not rush, it does not force. It simply waits until balance can no longer be denied. And balance matters to you more than most. You feel it when something is off, when words and actions do not match, when silence carries more weight than it should. For a while, you may have questioned yourself, wondered if you were asking for too much, if your need for clarity made you difficult, if wanting honesty meant risking harmony. But listen to me now. Harmony built on silence is not peace, it is postponement. What is happening now is not confrontation, it is correction. This is the moment when unspoken truths stop floating in the background and finally find a place to land. Not as accusations, not as blame, but as recognition. They are beginning to understand something they avoided before, that keeping everything inside did not protect the connection. It distorted it. And that distortion is what you felt. The subtle imbalance, the quiet ache of not knowing where you stood, the emotional math you kept doing in your head, trying to make the scales even. You were not imagining that. You were responding to a lack of symmetry. Now the energy shifts from avoidance to accountability, from holding back to owning what is real. This is not a dramatic confession shouted into the void. It is steadier than that, more grounded, more sincere. It is the kind of truth that comes from someone who has looked at themselves honestly and decided to stop hiding behind silence. They are not speaking because they feel pressured. They are speaking because they feel responsible, because they know that what they withheld affected you. And that awareness changes everything. For you, Libra, this is where your intuition is validated, not with grand gestures, but with clarity. You begin to see the shape of the story more clearly now. Why things felt stalled, why the connection never fully dissolved, why your heart kept sensing something unfinished. It was unfinished because the truth had not yet arrived. And when truth arrives, it does not rush you. It steadies you. It gives you something solid to stand on, something real to respond to, something honest to work with. You are not being asked to fix anything, or chase anything, or prove anything. You are simply being met where you have been waiting. There is something deeply healing about that, for both of you, because fairness is not about winning or losing. It is about things being named as they are, so they no longer haunt the silence. You may notice a sense of relief beginning to surface, not excitement, not anxiety, relief, as if the universe itself is saying, You were right to feel this. You were right to pause. You were right to trust your sense of imbalance. And as this truth settles, gently and without force, the path ahead becomes easier to see. Not because every answer is suddenly revealed, but because the weight of uncertainty begins to lift. Stay present with this feeling, this quiet restoration. Because when clarity returns, it brings with it a new kind of openness. And from that openness, something honest is ready to step forward. Libra, there is a moment when truth no longer feels like a threat. It feels like relief. That is the space you are entering now. This is not the kind of confession that bursts out in chaos or desperation. It arrives more quietly than that, almost gently, as if the weight they have been carrying finally realizes it can be set down. When they speak, it will not be to impress you. It will not be to convince you. It will be because pretending no longer makes sense. They will tell you what they felt when no one was listening. Not the polished version, not the edited one, but the real undercurrent that lived beneath their silence. They will explain why they disappeared into their head instead of stepping forward, why they chose distance when closeness felt too vulnerable, why waiting felt safer than risking rejection. And you may notice something as they speak. Their voice changes, not louder, more honest. This is the sound of someone who has stopped hiding from themselves. For you, Libra, this moment lands differently than it would for anyone else, because you do not need dramatic words. You need alignment. You need to feel that what is said finally matches what you have sensed all along. And when that alignment begins to settle, something inside you softens, not because everything is suddenly perfect, but because you are no longer carrying uncertainty by yourself. There is power in being told the truth, even when the truth includes fear, even when it includes delay, even when it includes missed timing, especially then, because clarity gives you choice. It gives you ground beneath your feet. It gives you the dignity of knowing where you stand. This confession is not about fixing the past. It is about naming it, so it no longer lingers in the shadows, shaping your emotions without permission. And here is something important I want you to hear. You are not responsible for making this easier for them. You do not need to rush your response. You do not need to meet their honesty with immediate answers. Your role in this moment is simple: presence. To listen without shrinking. To receive without doubting yourself. To allow the truth to exist without rearranging yourself to accommodate it. That is balance. Not silence, not sacrifice. Balance. You may feel a surge of emotion when they finally say it. Relief, sadness, validation, even grief for the time that passed without words. Let all of it move through you. None of it is wrong. This is what happens when a story stops circling and finally moves forward, not in a straight line, but with intention. As the confession settles, you may sense the atmosphere around you change. The heaviness lifts. The questions quiet. The connection feels less fragile and more defined, not because it demands an outcome, but because it no longer lives in uncertainty. And as you stand in this clearer space, something else begins to unfold. A subtle shift, a gentle turning, like the world responding to honesty by opening a new path. Stay with that feeling, that calm after truth is spoken, because from here, movement becomes possible, and what unfolds next carries a very different kind of energy. Libra, once the truth is spoken, something subtle but powerful begins to move. Not loudly, not all at once, but you feel it. It's like standing still for a long time, and suddenly realizing the ground beneath you is no longer frozen. This is the moment when fate responds to honesty. You may not see it immediately. There's no dramatic sign in the sky, no announcement, just a quiet sense that the story has shifted direction. What once felt stuck starts to loosen. Conversations flow a little easier, timing feels less heavy. The tension that lived between questions begins to dissolve. This is the wheel turning, not to erase what happened, but to realign it. For a long time, you were waiting without knowing what you were waiting for. You felt the pause, the delay, the suspension of something unfinished. And now, Libra, that pause breaks. You might notice it in small ways, a message that lands differently, a gesture that feels intentional instead of accidental, a sense that movement is no longer being resisted. The energy changes from holding to allowing. What was once unclear begins to take shape, not because someone forces an outcome, but because truth clears the path forward. This is not about rushing ahead. It's about momentum returning. You feel it in your body first, a lightness in your chest, a calm where there used to be doubt, the feeling that you are no longer pushing against invisible walls. And for you, Libra, this matters deeply. Because you thrive when energy flows, when balance is restored, when give and take finally feel even. The wheel does not promise perfection. It promises movement. It promises that the story is no longer paused at the same emotional chapter, that what once circled endlessly is now progressing. You may catch yourself thinking, finally, something is happening. And that feeling is real. This turning brings clarity. It brings opportunity. It brings a sense that what comes next is not forced but guided. You are no longer guessing what the connection means. You are experiencing it as it unfolds. There is relief in that. Not excitement that overwhelms, but steadiness, grounding. You begin to trust the timing again. Not because everything is guaranteed, but because movement itself is healing. And as things begin to flow, you are reminded of something important. You did not imagine the stagnation. You did not overthink the imbalance. Your awareness was accurate. Now the universe meets that awareness with motion. Doors that felt closed begin to open quietly. Not with noise, with ease. You do not need to push them. They open because the energy behind them is ready. And as you stand in this turning moment, something else becomes clear. This shift is not just about the connection. It's about you reclaiming your sense of alignment. You are no longer waiting in uncertainty. You are moving with intention. Let that sink in. This is the feeling of being carried forward instead of held back, of trusting that the path knows where it's going. And as the wheel continues to turn, slowly and deliberately, it brings you closer to something more grounded, more tangible, more real. Stay with that movement, that quiet progress. Because when fate starts moving again, it often leads towards something that can finally be built. Libra, when movement returns, it doesn't rush toward noise. It settles into something quieter, heavier in a good way, more real. This is where the energy deepens, because once honesty clears the air, what remains is not fantasy. It is intention. They are no longer speaking just to release pressure. They are speaking because they can finally see beyond the moment, beyond fear, beyond hesitation. This is where their thoughts slow down and take shape. You may feel it in the way their focus changes, less scattered, more grounded, as if they are no longer hovering at the edge of the connection, but stepping inside it. What they want now is not excitement that fades, not intensity that burns fast and disappears. They are looking for something that holds weight, something that stays. There is a difference between wanting connection and wanting to build, and they are crossing that line. For the first time, they are imagining mornings, not just moments, consistency, not just chemistry, a shared rhythm instead of uncertainty. That is why this feels heavier, not in a burdensome way, in a meaningful way. This is the energy of choosing stability over avoidance, of choosing presence over distance. They are no longer asking themselves if they feel something. They know they do. Now they are asking a different question. What does this become if I take it seriously? And Libra, that question carries responsibility. You may notice a shift in how they talk about the future, not with promises, with practicality, with consideration. They are thinking about how things fit together, how lives align, how space is shared. This is not about possession. It is about partnership. And for you, this lands deeply. Because you have always valued balance that lasts, beauty that endures, connections that do not require constant negotiation to feel secure. You are not being offered a dream. You are being invited into something tangible. That is why this confession carries weight. Because it is not just emotional truth, it is directional truth. It says, I see you in my future. Not abstractly, practically. And that can feel both comforting and sobering at the same time. Take a moment with that. You do not need to decide anything right now. You do not need to respond with certainty. This is not a test. It is an opening, an opportunity to feel what it is like to be considered in real terms, to be thought of not as a possibility, but as a presence. And here is something important to remember. You are allowed to want this. You are allowed to value stability. You are allowed to need proof that words will turn into action. This is not settling. This is choosing depth. As this realization settles in them, you may sense the energy becoming calmer, more deliberate, less reactive. This is what happens when intention replaces uncertainty. And as you stand in this steadier space, you may notice something else beginning to form. a sense of timing, a subtle awareness that everything does not arrive all at once. Some things reveal themselves step by step, with signs, with markers, with quiet confirmations along the way. Pay attention to those moments. They will matter, because when something real is being built, the universe tends to leave reminders along the path. Libra, when something real is forming, time begins to speak in a different language. Not loudly, not urgently, but clearly. You may notice your awareness sharpening. Moments slow down just enough for meaning to slip through. Patterns repeat, numbers surface. Small symbols appear where you least expect them. This is how timing reveals itself, not as a deadline, but as reassurance. The energy around you is no longer asking when in a demanding way. It is asking when with patience, with trust, with a sense that what is meant to arrive will not miss you. You might feel it as a quiet count inside your chest, a rhythm, like something measuring itself out, carefully, intentionally. 10. Not as pressure, as structure. For some, it feels like hours stretching gently toward a moment. For others, days aligning. For others still, weeks unfolding with purpose. Different forms, same message. This is not delay, it is calibration. And while your mind may try to track the timing, your intuition is already ahead of it, because your intuition recognizes the signs before your thoughts catch up. Pay attention to what keeps appearing around you, not as superstition, as conversation. You may notice images of balance, scales, symmetry, weights finding their center. They appear quietly, on a screen, in a window, in a passing comment you almost ignore. But your body responds before your mind does. A pause, a breath, a sense of recognition. This is the universe speaking in your native language. Balance matters to you. Truth matters to you. Alignment matters to you. So, when these symbols show up, they are not predictions. They are confirmations. They are reminders that what you felt was real, that what was spoken was true, that what is unfolding is not imagined. You are not being asked to interpret these signs perfectly. You are being asked to notice how they make you feel. Do they calm you? Do they ground you? Do they bring a sense of order back into your inner world? That response is the message. Because timing is not about waiting with anxiety. It is about recognizing readiness. And readiness feels different than impatience. It feels steady. It feels composed. It feels like standing in the center of yourself instead of leaning forward. You may find that as you stop checking the clock, things begin to align more naturally. Conversations happen when they need to. Moments arrive without forcing. This is not coincidence. This is flow. The signs are not there to make you chase certainty. They are there to help you relax into it, to remind you that you do not need to question your perception anymore. You do not need to replay what was said. You do not need to wonder if you misread the moment. The truth stands on its own now. And as this understanding settles, something inside you begins to soften further. The edge of waiting dulls. The urgency fades. What remains is presence. This is the kind of timing that honors you. That does not rush your heart. That does not demand instant decisions. It simply walks beside you, quietly, steadily. Let that be enough for now. Because when timing aligns and signs confirm, the next step does not need to be forced. It arrives naturally, as a knowing, as a calm readiness. And as you stand in that space, balanced and aware, you may begin to sense something else emerging, a deeper understanding of what this all means for you, not just for the connection, but for who you are becoming within it. Libra, take a breath with me here, not to prepare for something dramatic, but to arrive fully inside this moment, because what this all means for you is quieter than you expected, and deeper. You are no longer standing in a place where effort is required to be seen. You are no longer measuring your worth by how much you give, or how carefully you wait, or how patient you try to be. That chapter is closing on its own. You do not need to move toward this. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to lean forward just to keep the connection alive. For once, the movement is not yours to initiate. They are the ones stepping forward now, with words that come from clarity, not confusion, with actions that rise from intention, not pressure. And this matters, because you have spent enough time being the one who understands, the one who adapts, the one who holds space while others figure themselves out. This is not about finally being chosen. You were always worthy of that. This is about being met. being met where you are, not halfway, not someday, but here. You may notice a subtle shift inside yourself as you realize this. A release of tension you didn't know you were holding. The quiet permission to stop overthinking your role. You do not have to shrink to keep peace anymore. You do not have to silence your needs to preserve balance. This is a different kind of harmony. One where your voice matters, where your presence is valued, where your emotional truth is not something to work around. And if part of you feels cautious, that is okay. You are allowed to move slowly. You are allowed to feel before you decide. Respect is not proven by speed. It is proven by consistency. Let yourself observe, not from a place of fear, from a place of self-trust. Notice how it feels when you are listened to, when your words are received without defensiveness, when your presence no longer feels like a question mark. That is your confirmation. You are not meant to be in the dark anymore, not guessing, not decoding silence, not carrying emotional weight alone. The truth has surfaced because you were ready to receive it. Not because you demanded it, not because you chased it, because you held your integrity, and that is something no one can take from you. As this story continues to unfold, remember this. You are not here to audition for love. You are here to participate in something that honors you. Whatever comes next does not require urgency. It requires awareness, presence, self-respect. Let the connection show you who it is becoming, and let yourself respond from a grounded place. You have nothing to rush toward, nothing to fix, nothing to chase, only something to receive. They can't hold it in anymore, and you no longer have to wonder where you stand. Stay open, stay steady, and trust the clarity you have earned. Libra. Before you go, let this moment land. What found you today wasn't noise, it wasn't coincidence. It was a quiet truth rising to the surface, the kind that doesn't rush, but stays. If something in this message surprised you, if it softened you or made you feel seen in a way you didn't expect, that's not accidental. It means you're ready for clarity, ready to stop questioning your worth, ready to trust the balance returning to your life. Remember this, you don't need to chase honesty. You don't need to force love. What is real moves towards you on its own. So, take a breath tonight. Place one hand on your heart and trust yourself a little more than you did before this video. If this message spoke to you, let me know you're here. Leave a comment, even just one word. And if you want to keep walking this journey with other Libras who feel just like you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay close. Because this story isn't over. The energy is still unfolding, and the next message may arrive exactly when you need it. Until then, Libra, stay balanced, stay open, and never forget how deeply you are valued.